was long before the second floor was built on the Axel house on Farm Lane. A pull-down staircase was the only way that you could get into the attic. You pulled on a rope and the stairs came down. And when the stairs went back up, they disappeared into the ceiling like magic. Avery, who was 2 years old, didn't say many words, but it was easy to understand what he wanted to say because he would point his finger and grunt. You could tell he was happy by his big smile. A frown or a screech let us know if he was unhappy or angry. Adam was 4.5, and he loved to play with his friends, but he especially loved to teach his little brother everything that he knew. He even shared his toys. One day, Adam and Avery were making Play-Doh sandwiches in the playroom near the front door of their Roosevelt, New Jersey home. They eagerly jotted down their parents' orders on an imaginary pad and set to work. The sun was shining through the windows as they rolled out the dough and squeezed the soft balls into hamburger molds. Avery wasn't sure if he liked the taste of the Play-Doh because he would put it into his mouth and spit it out. Adam, very carefully in his measuring and pressing, put the tiny meals onto paper plates. They both brought them to their parents. Dad was working on the computer when the boys brought him his cheeseburger and fries. Dad, one eye glued to the computer, smiled and said, "Yummy." Mom was placing Piglet and Cutie, their pet guinea pigs, into a cardboard box while she cleaned their cage. When the boys served her chocolate shake and grilled cheese, the guinea pigs were squealing up a storm. Mom made chewing sounds. The boys went back to make more. They sat on top of newspapers that were spread on the floor and went back to work. Suddenly, Avery's eyes popped open wide. He looked up and pointed towards the ceiling. Adam heard a strange sound. It was a whoosh, and another whoosh. That whoosh whoosh grew so loud that Avery called to his brother, Ada, Ada. He either called his brother or Ada. He called himself AA or AE. Well, anyway, Adam saw that his brother was pointing to the attic's door. Avery, did you hear something? Adam asked. Avery stood up and, trailing droplets of yellow and pink Play-Doh, he walked up to the pull-down stairs and pointed. Adam picked up some red Play-Doh off his sneakers and wiped them on his pants. He cried, Mommy, we hear a noise upstairs in the attic. No response. Maybe Mommy didn't hear him. But then the boys heard another whoosh whoosh, followed by a thump and a strange knocking. Running into the study, Adam called out, Daddy, there's a noise upstairs. We hear a noise. Glancing away from his computer screen, Dad stopped typing. He tilted his head and squinted his eyes. He listened carefully and said, shh. In a few moments, Dad touched Adam's hand and said, I don't hear anything, but it could be squirrels. I hear squirrels running on the rooftops. Adam smiled as he reassured his little brother. Avery, it's only squirrels running on the roof. Squirrels? Squirrels, Avery repeated. Squirrels? He ran back to the playroom, plastic spoon in hand. They had just returned to the playroom floor when the boys heard another whoosh whoosh and thuds, like somebody was jumping up and down the ceiling. And a rapping sound, a knocking. Avery's eyes started to the left, to the right, up and down and up and down. "Mommy, Mommy!" Adam rose up and ran. His sneakers squished soft putty into the wooden floor. The boys piled into Mommy as she was placing the pets back into their guinea pig cages. They hugged her around her legs and both pointed up. Now, Adam and Avery were very frightened and did not agree with Daddy that there were squirrels running on the roof. Mommy hugged the boys as she took off her yellow cleaning gloves. "There's nothing to be afraid of. It's only the wind." She held them by their hands and offered, "Would you like some lunch now? We have matzo ball soup." Later that evening, the boys lay in bed. The night light cast shadows against the walls. Adam, who was sometimes afraid of monsters, had asked his dad to stuff a ceiling crack with tissues to prevent any such monsters from entering his room. Avery couldn't sit still. He couldn't lie still, he couldn't sit still. He tossed and turned in his bed, banging his legs against the walls with loud whacks. So loud that Adam complained, "Stop that, Avery!" Adam's bed was under the window, and Avery slept near the fish tank that was filled with guppies. "Stop banging, Avery! Stop making so much noise!" Adam demanded. Avery tried to say, "No, no noise," but it sounded like, "No nose, no nose." "If you don't stop, I'll call Mommy," Adam insisted, cuddling his bare snuffles. Avery lay still. More banging. Avery, stop it!" Adam was getting angry and tired. He got up, stood next to his brother's bed, and in the glow of the fish tank light, he held his brother down with his hands, his body pressed against him. "You can't move now, buddy. How do you like that?" "No nose. I no bang." Avery tried to sit up, but Adam held him down. Avery started to cry. "Oh, don't cry, Avery." Adam kissed his brother on the top of his head. A thump, and another thump as loud can be, thundered above them. A rapping followed, like somebody was dropping marbles on the ceiling. Avery pointed up. Adam held his breath, and they hugged each other tightly. Thinking that their parents wouldn't believe them, they decided to take matters into their own hands. The boys edged their way down the hall, quietly past their parents' bedroom, towards the attic stairs. Carefully and bravely, they were feeling really scared, but luckily, Mom and Dad kept a bathroom nightlight shining. But under the pulled-down stairs, it was rather dark. Adam used a small step stool to reach 2 flashlights in the laundry room, and then they each aimed their flashlight at the dangling attic door rope. Adam couldn't jump high enough to grab the rope, not even when he stood on a step stool. Pesto, their fluffy white dog, started barking as Adam moved a coffee table from the living room area to just under the hidden staircase. She didn't like the high-pitched scraping and screeching sound of the table legs against the floor. Peppo, shush, whispered Avery. He couldn't pronounce pesto. The sound of breaking glass came next. Just above them, they heard water rushing and more breaking glass. Pesto didn't like that. Carefully and bravely, Adam lifted the step stool and placed it on top of the coffee table. He climbed up and strained to reach the dangling rope. He reached high, stretching his arms and fingers as high can be. He tried once, twice, and finally he grasped the rope, but he couldn't pull it hard enough for the staircase to come down. Avery, come here, Adam demanded in a low whisper. Come here, Avery, grab my legs. Little Avery was very strong. He had no trouble pulling himself up onto the tabletop. He stood, hugged his brother around his knees, and pulled. Nothing happened. The stairs did not budge. The noises above grew louder. And the night air got colder. Even though the boys wore pajamas with feet, they began to feel a chill. It felt as though all the doors and the windows were open. The winter air rushed all around them. Adam wondered what to do. Avery held on tightly. Pesto, come here, Pesto, Adam commanded. Pesto whined a small whine and jumped up onto the table. Come here, girl, Adam called. Jump on Avery. Jump up, girl. Jump up on Avery. Within a split second, Pesto leaped onto Avery's back. Her front paws were hooked over his shoulders. And then the staircase descended in a slow, creaking motion. Pesto jumped off just as Adam and Avery climbed to the floor. Flashlight in hand, Adam led the way to the darkness above. It was Avery's first time on the stairs alone, and it was very scary that he couldn't look down at the floor below. Mommy and Daddy were not there to guide him with their firm and steady hands, but he was a brave little boy. He trusted that his big brother Adam would protect him from the unknown thumping and whooshing lurking in the shadowy attic above. At the top of the stairs, a gust of wind blew. It blew the flashlight right out of Avery's hand and onto the floor below. The cold air, like a wind tunnel, swirled around the boys and reminded them both that December marks the beginning of winter and the Christmas and Hanukkah seasons. Standing on the concrete attic floor, Adam concluded, Avery, feel this wind blowing? It must have been the wind making all that noise. Avery looked all around, searching out familiar objects in the dark. Then there was a clapping and flapping sound to the left. Avery pointed and grunted. The only window in the attic was an octagonal pane of glass framed in wood. The window was open and it was smashing against the outside of the house. It banged and flapped and flapped and banged. The two boys made their way through the darkness towards the window, guiding themselves by touching objects in their path. There were large boxes filled with old toys, a chest of drawers where Mommy stored the summer clothing, cardboard files with Daddy's important work files, a few metal cabinets, and blown-up beach rafts and floats that were stored for the winter. All of a sudden, their huge G.I. Joe army base burst into a brilliant flash of light. A light so bright their eyes hurt. And then blackness all around again. Another flashing, this time on the ceiling at the far end of the attic. The flashing moved so rapidly now that the boys could not fix it in one place. Like a comet, it had a tail that trailed behind, and like the 4th of July fireworks, they stood shocked in awe and transfixed by the spectacle. Whooshing and flashing burst all around them, multiplying into dozens of spinning, glowing, and blinding visions. Over their heads, around their legs, the boys held each other tightly so that they wouldn't fall over. Adam gasped, "I'm dizzy." Avery wanted the whooshing and the swooshing to stop. He wagged his finger and found, No, stop, he commanded. The light shot from corner to corner, from ceiling to floor, and knocking over boxes, tumbled books from shelves, and dumped over the plastic closet of Dad's old clothes. Toy cars and trucks spun around and scraped the floor like fingers against a blackboard. Avery squeezed his brother's hand. "Go sleepy," he asked. "Go sleepy." He wanted to get down from the attic. "Go sleepy, sleepy, eepy." Before Adam could respond, the flashing zipped out of the open window and disappeared into the night. Dragging Avery behind, Adam ran to the window. On tiptoes, he strained his head through the opening and turned in all directions to look into the darkness. The sloppy wetness slapping his cheeks and forehead signaled one thing. "Snow!" he cried. "It's snowing, Avery." "No?" Avery questioned. "Snow," Adam repeated. "No?" Avery asked again. "No, snow, snow." Adam emphasized the S's and pointed to Avery. "See? Snow." A pile of telephone books stacked high helped Avery to stand tall enough at the window to look out of the opening to see the most gigantic snowflakes tumbling down from the sky. As the boys gazed into the snowy light, the flashing called to them at the edge of the woods behind the house, and Adam knew that he must follow. First, he was too cold to do anything. He grabbed 2 sweaters that had spilled to the floor from his dad's plastic closet, and Adam helped Avery get the sweater over his head. He rolled up the sleeves to be sure that he and his brother could move their arms, and both boys felt warmer immediately. And even though the sweaters trailed to the floor and the smell of mothballs stung their senses, they desperately needed to keep warm. Next, they had to get out. Luckily, the tall cedar tree stood very close to the attic window. And there were lots of branches to help them to climb down. "Avery," Adam commanded, "listen carefully." "Yeah," Avery grunted. "Follow me." Adam grabbed the closest branch. Avery stretched to reach. "I can't." "Come on, Avery," Adam encouraged. Avery stood on the window ledge and grabbed a lower branch. "I got." Then both boys made a big mistake. They looked downward to the ground 20 feet below. Avery's stomach turned and grumbled. Adam, a bit dizzy, realized that still he had time to change his mind. He could go back to the attic stairs and go down and return to the safety of their beds, or he could go out the back door of the house and pursue the flashing. A terrific wind encircled them. Loosening their grips and knocking their feet from the window ledge. Their hands lost grip of the branches. They gasped, they gulped, and they both screamed, "Ooh-ee!" descending through crackling and breaking brittle branches towards the ground below. In the nick of time, the flashing came around them, spinning and swirling. It cushioned their fall. They landed feet first in 5 inches of snow. And then the flashing with its comet tail zipped away. It zipped in between tree trunks and far into the woods. The world seemed quite a different place in the middle of the night, in the stillness of the woods, and in a flurry of snow and twinkling light. The flashing winked 1,000 golden eyes which were reflected on the white earth, tree trunks, and branches. The flashing then found a temporary home in a huge blue and red truck tire lying nestled among the berry bushes. As it spun around the tire, the sound it made was truly amazing. A siren-like wail emerged. Somewhat like a mermaid's tale from deep within the sea. The birds had long departed south for the winter, but their summer homes remained tucked in the tree twigs above, and the flashing loved to hop from nest to nest, lighting the forest in its wake. A thundering quaked the earth and transfixed Adam and Avery dead in their tracks. The boys gasped as a herd of deer galloped before them. The snow beneath their upturned hooves were airbound and revealed the frozen brown earth below. as the pointed white tails disappeared into the woods. The boys followed the flashing past the spot that they knew as the deer hole. It was a deep ditch where the deer slept. Well, at least that's what Daddy said. Past the deer hole and down past an old tree house, Adam and Avery stomped through the leafy snow, over hills into ditches. Twigs and branches snapped and crackled beneath their cold pajama feet. The boys then reached a clearing behind Hannah's house, and they saw the twinkling reflected in the sliding glass door of her porch. Soon, Hannah came to the door, wiping her eyes of sleep and transfixed by the strange light that woke her up. Avery pressed his nose and lips against the glass, his nose dripping and his eyes so watery. Hannah was surprised to see them. She waved, signaling them to come in, come in. Only thing, they couldn't unlock the door, no matter how hard they tried. The flashing zoomed high into the night sky, soaring over the top of trees and over the wide-branched apple tree that Hannah's dad, Neil, had planted way before she was born. The flashing then leaped down across the street and played a tic-tac-toe light show behind the stained glass Jewish stars of the synagogue. Hannah waved to the boys as they followed the flashing. The blue and white stained glass was illuminated that snowy night, and the flashings whoosh seemed like a prayer-like chanting. Baruch, Baruch. Adam and Avery stood on the temple lawn, which was now 7 inches of snow. They heard more chanting. Atah, Atah, Atah. Time passed quickly. Their feet were getting colder and wetter, and the chanting stopped. The flashing, now lost in a Christmas light lit front yard, confused the boys as it played hide and seek in the twinkling. There was a tree covered with tiny blue lights, and there was a house outlined in white bulbs. And then on a neighbor's yard, a 10-foot Santa grinned a bright red smile. Suddenly, a snow shovel scraping the pavement interrupted their trance. The dawn, breaking through in a gray haze, revealed Old Man Irving cleaning the snow from his driveway. The flashing grew faint as it led the boys back through the woods. By the time they reached their yard, they could hardly see the flashing as it whooshed a muted swoosh through the open attic window. Adam found the house keys hidden under a flower pot covered with icy snow, and he led Avery through the back door, through the house. The warmth of the inside rushed around them and held them tight. Trying not to make a sound, the boys scampered up the pull-down stairs, their wet sweaters dripping. Up in the attic, the flashing once again shined brighter and brighter still. The room was lit in the brilliant glow of sunrise. And then the flashing, deep within the eaves, disappeared into an old chest. The whooshing and flashing stopped. No more brilliant light and no more flashing. Just an ordinary dawn in a cold, quiet attic. Adam tried to slide the black treasure chest from out of its tight corner fit. It was stuck. Avery, Adam requested, come here. You're smaller than me, and you could get behind the trunk and push with your feet. Well, Avery moved behind the chest and rested his back against the wall and pushed. His feet pushed against the eaves. He grunted. He breathed deeply, and remarkably, the chest slid out from the wall for about 5 inches. The old chest had brass corners, a few tags and labels with black writing. Adam tugged and tugged at the lock and the big brass latch. It didn't budge. Avery pulled at the lock. Nothing happened. Then both boys furiously and feverishly jumped up and down on top of the chest, and still it did not open. Footsteps up the pull-down stairs. Adam, Avery, what's going on? It was Mommy peeking her head through the ceiling at the top of the pull-down staircase. Peering into the dimly lit space, Mommy questioned, "Where are you boys?" And then she shouted, Robert, the boys are in the attic." More footsteps up the pull-down stairs. Daddy and Mommy, shocked, stood behind their sons, bending over them in the attic's low ceiling. Avery and Adam were atop the old chest and tugging at the lock. "Light! Light! Light!" Avery, with wide eyes, exclaimed. "Light! Light! In here! In here!" Adam pointed. "A star! A light! In here, Mommy!" Mommy, wrapped in a flowered pink flannel nightgown and robe, pressed her fingertips to her lips. "Oh my God, it's Grandpa Axel's old chest," she said softly as she got on her knees and moved closer to the boys. Daddy got on his knees too and looked at Mommy. "Robin, I haven't seen this old chest and oh God, not since..." Mommy cut in and questioned, "We never really opened it, did we?" "Open! Open!" Avery pointed. "Open!" Daddy rubbed his shoulders in the morning chill. "Gosh, I don't think we have a key." He bent over and fiddled with the lock, pulling and twisting and twisting and pulling. Mom tried too. "It's not budging." The brothers tried again, jiggling the lock together. The sun rose in the sky, and its rays cast a light through the tiny cracks in the ceiling. One bright colored light lit the lock as Adam and Avery's hands gripped it together. They pulled, and then all of a sudden, the lock loosened its clenched teeth and opened. Adam took the lock from the latch, and Avery slowly opened the lid, and all 4 of them gazed in amazement and awe. The flashing circled around a golden menorah, a candelabra with 9 candles that gleamed brightly in the attic's early morning light. All they could do was gasp. It was Grandpa Axel's beautiful menorah. It had carvings of lions and dogs and deer and rabbits, all in brilliant gold. and they stood looking in awe and amazement. Dad, leaning in towards Mommy and the boys, encircled them with his arms. Just in time, he said as he hugged everybody. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah, the festival of lights.